I know you work in over 2,500, I think, communities around the nation. I think it's incredible. I'd actually like you to talk a little bit later, a bit more about some of what these leaders that come from the grassroots have managed to accomplish, because there's some remarkable stories there. To your point earlier, actually, I just read today there's a letter that was signed on by something like 1,000 health professionals that basically says, this is my quick read of it, that systemic racism is a much bigger health problem than coronavirus or COVID-19, roughly speaking. I mean, I didn't know what to say or think to that.
Really, I find it, as a black person who's a veteran of the civil rights movement, most insulting. It's the most demeaning proposition that I could think. It is the most patronizing thing that anyone could say about somebody. Somehow, that your life and your destiny is not in your own hands. That somehow, whatever conditions or challenges you're facing in your community, that it's not your fault. That the fault lies outside with white America, and therefore, unless and until white America changed, there's little expectation that life will improve inside that community. I mean, that to me is fundamentally racist. And they're injuring people with the helping hand. In other words, what they're saying, some of the proponents of this position, is that the out-of-wedlock birth, the black-on-black crime, that there are about 6,000 blacks that kill other blacks every year, even though we're only 13% of the population, we contribute 50% of all the murders that occur. That somehow these challenges that we face, the solution to it rests outside of the community. Nothing is more lethal than to provide a convenient excuse for someone's failure, to say to them, you're not responsible. And therefore, what the people are saying who advocate in positions, unfortunately, don't have to live with the consequences of their advocacy. They're demeaning the police. Some of them saying we should defund the police. Well, there are studies now that support the proposition that when you vilify the police and the police therefore began to step back and not enforce the laws as vigorously, as aggressively in low-income, high-crime areas as they did, it results in increase in the number of black-on-black deaths. There are two studies. But the people who are assaulting the police and attacking them as instruments of institutional racism, they don't live in those communities that are suffering the problem. Their children are not in the foster care system. And so you have an unfortunate situation where middle class, I call them grievance-oriented, middle class, privileged elites, are the ones on television shaking their fists, claiming that America is incurably racist. And they are preying on the guilt of white Americans who are writing checks to them. So they are personally enriching themselves and their organizations in the name of champions of social justice.